Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Caris May, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Ian McLean. We warmly welcome the family of Private Ernest Dalzell, whose story will be read shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Dale Bennett, Executive Vice President, Lockheed Martin Rotary and Mission Systems. We welcome all the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During this evening, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Maxfield Public School and St Joseph's School in Merewether. From the Northern Territory, the Good Shepherd Lutheran College from Howard Springs, and from Queensland, Moreton Bay College from Manly West and Livingston Christian College from Ormeau. To commence this evening's ceremony, I'd like to invite you all to stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, boys and girls. You may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations for over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember Private Ernest Dalzell. Ernest Reuel Dalzell was born in Perth, Western Australia, on the 30th of April 1898 to Walter and Lily Dalzell. He was the third of 5 boys in a family of 11 born to the couple. He grew up and attended school in Maddington, and when the First World War began, he had been working as an apprentice wood mechanist for Buckingham Brothers. He was also serving in the 89th Infantry Regiment. Dalzell enlisted on the 22nd of May 1916 with the consent of his parents, as he had only just turned 18. He underwent training with a depot battalion until June, when he was posted to the 22nd Reinforcements to the 16th Battalion. While waiting to embark for service abroad, he heard of the death of one of his brothers, Walter, who had been killed at Pozières. He was transferred to the 6th Reinforcements to the 48th Battalion in September, but it was not until October that he embarked from Fremantle aboard the transport ship Port Melbourne. Dalzell disembarked in England in late December and was sent to a training camp at Codford. In early February 1917, Dalzell was sent to France, joining D Company of the 48th Battalion, led by Captain Alan Lean. In March 1917, the battalion took part in the follow-up action as the Germans withdrew to the Hindenburg Line. To assist the British offensive at Arras, the 4th Australian and the 62nd British Divisions launched a hastily planned attack to capture Bullecourt. At 4:30 a.m. on the 11th of April, the 48th Battalion began their attack. During the initial advance, D Company attained their objective, the only company in the battalion to do so. German counterattacks forced the Australians to withdraw. Dalzell was seen by Corporal Charles McColl twice during the withdrawal. He described Dalzell as having been wounded in the left side of his face, which was swollen and bleeding profusely. After the second sighting, Dalzell was not seen again. The first attack on Bullecourt, which had been hastily planned and carried out, was an unmitigated disaster for the Australians. Over 3,300 casualties were sustained by the 4th and 12th Brigades, 1,770 of which were taken prisoner, the largest number of Australians captured in a single engagement during the war. Dalzell was initially listed as missing in action, but a court of inquiry held in December 1917 found him to have been killed in action on the 11th of April. He was 19 years old. With the Second Battle of Bullecourt fought over the same ground only weeks later, Dalzell's body was either not recovered or unable to be identified. His name was added to the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux. Ernest Dalzell's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on your left, along with around 60,000 others from the First World War. His photograph is displayed beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Ernest Reuel Dalzell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Boys and girls, could you please stand for the ode and last post?
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man, lying out there at Pozières, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.